RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show. Everything on diet, training, supplementation, the past Arnold Classic, a lot of content right now on RxMuscle.com and our YouTube channel, as we now go to Dave Palumbo rocking out in its fresh new Species Nutrition gear.
All right, I broke down, guys. Let me see. I gotta straighten it out a little bit here. I broke down. Everyone was asking me. They wanted new Species gear, new T-shirts, sweatshirts. So I broke down. I finally ordered more. I got T-shirts. I got sweatshirts, zip sweatshirts with the new logo like this on the sleeve, on the thing, on the back. I got women's shirts, really cute V-necks, with the little crop sleeves. So there's no excuse now. No one's going to break my balls anymore. We'll have them up hopefully by the time the show airs on speciesnutrition.com so you guys can pick them up and order them. I also got from my own Dave Palumbo website my new Jumbo Palumbo Versa Grippers. I'm bringing them back by popular demand, guys. I know you guys loved them in the past. I couldn't find anyone to make them. I finally found someone to make all my clothing and my stuff, my equipment. So Jumbo Palumbo Versa Grippers. These are only going to be $15. The regular ones cost like $25 to $30. So these guys will be your best friend when you're training back, you're doing shoulder shrugs. Okay, even when you're doing some biceps, you can use them. They're super comfortable. They Velcro around your wrist, real easy, and you can show off your little Jumbo Palumbo moniker while you're doing your sets. So once again, these will be available at DavePalumbo.com. The Species gear will be available at SpeciesNutrition.com. So I did it. I broke down. I'm going to start bringing in some more gear too. I know. You know what? When you move, sometimes things get delayed. Now that I'm kind of well settled, we're going to start ordering more clothing and stuff like that.
Good to know. Again, this gear is going to be available soon at SpeciesNutrition.com. Let's go to the questions. If you want to join us, you can join us in the Muscle Central Forum on RxMuscle.com, our official Instagram, official_RxMuscle, our official Facebook page, or you can tweet at us using hashtag AskDave. Let's go to Horton Fitness. Dave, can you explain a diuretic protocol for the days leading up to a show? Example, when to take it, how much water intake, and sodium intake.
It's hard to do, and I've told you this, guys, before, because everyone is different, okay? I don't like to give any diuretics till the day before a show. I don't restrict sodium till the day before a show. I usually keep sodium in at normal levels right up until, let's say we're doing a Saturday morning prejudging. Friday morning, I'll start 0 sodium added. So whatever's in the food naturally, you can still eat eggs and stuff like that, just no sodium added. I only do that for the whole, usually up until about 8 p.m., 8:30. At 8:30 at night, the night before the show, I cut drinking and I add back sodium, believe it or not. Because if you deplete sodium too long, especially when you're taking some diuretics, you're going to go way, way flat. So after you stop drinking, I put the sodium back in. Sometimes I do it with a dirty meal like a burger and fries that night before bed. Or if the person is not really where I want it to be in terms of, super, super ripped, then I might just do a clean meal, as your last meal. As far as diuretics, I usually use half diazides, half of the 37-25s, and I'll do half, usually maybe, depending on what time prejudging is, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. I'll do another half at 9 o'clock before bed, and usually that's enough. For women, bikini and figure, I might just do 1 at 9 o'clock before bed, and that seems to work as well. But once again, you got to play around with it because everyone's different. I have guys that are water buffaloes, and they have to get I have to give them 3 or 4 halves, sometimes more. Whereas other people hardly hold any water, and a half of diazide might be enough to them. And that's very simplistically how I'm laying it out for you. But the truth is that every person is different, so I cater the protocol according to what the person looks like.
So Dave, you broke down when it came to giving or to getting new Species gear. Well, you might have to break down again because now you're getting demand for RX Muscle gear. Merce Brown, will you ever start making RX Muscle clothing, T-shirts, tanks, hoodies, beanies, etc.? I've been looking for a while. I like the logo, and it's good to get the brand out.
Here's the deal. You have to buy you can't just buy 5 shirts, okay? So that's the problem. Now, I do have some RxMuscle clothing that I bought for my staff, If I do, now that I have a good guy I can get it from at a reasonable price, I can order some and have it for sale, which is one possibility. Or I might try to do one of these print-on-demand t-shirt sites where you can kind of like pick what you want, you pick your logo, and you can put it on there. That seems to be what everyone's doing nowadays. The reason I like to order it is I like to feel the stuff and know that the quality of the garments are really good. So, I mean, I guess I could always order a couple of these print-on-demand ones and see if I like them and see which style shirts I like. That's a possibility for RxMuscle more so than me stocking it. See, with Species, we sell a lot of it, so it's more prevalent. With RxMuscle, we have the diehard fans love to wear the gear and stuff like that, so I might have to do something a little different for that, but I'll work on it, I promise you.
So you know what, let's have some fun with this. If you want RxMuscle gear, comment below. If there's enough demand, I will personally get Dave to break down again, and we will have a whole line of RxMuscle. But you got to wear it around. You got to wear it at the big shows. You got to make the brand, the presence known of RX Nation. Let's go to the gaze into the sun. Pretty deep question here. Did you ever deal with addiction? I know you mentioned Nubian, also Xanax and Valium. Did you just quit cold turkey?
I was never addicted to like a Xanax or a Valium or anything like that. I mean, I might have used a couple here and there to sleep, especially while on Trenbolone close to a show. The only thing I really was addicted to was Nubian. Dan Duchesne, got everyone thinking that Nubian was the greatest thing next to Swiss cheese, and that bodybuilders should use it. It's anti-catabolic. You can train, and you can diet on it. And we all bought, that whole sale, so to speak. And in the 90s, it was a big thing. I used it for about 2 or 3 years. And I never really knew I was addicted to it because I just didn't stop. I would just use it consistently. And then I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And I knew that I was going to go through some type of withdrawal with it. And it wasn't fun. It wasn't like obviously coming off the heroin, I would guess. It would have to be harder. It was more of an emotional roller coaster because the physical withdrawal wasn't bad because I could deal with anything. It was 3 or 4 days of just being a little restless, more so than anything, and very sensitive. And I actually went to California and did it because it was winter in New York, and I'm like, screw this, I'm not doing it here. So I went to Venice Beach and I hung out there, and I just, did all kinds of like detoxifications, and I went for acupuncture, massage, and I made a vacation out of it. And for me, I didn't stay cooped up in a room. I just walked around. I weight trained every day at the gym. I ate a lot. My appetite was voracious when I came off of it because Nubian blunts your appetite a little bit. And the truth is, like I said, the emotional part of coming off of it was the most difficult because it suppresses any kind of pain you have. And I think that's why a lot of people do painkillers because they're trying to suppress something. So, while some people might need to go to a structured rehab place to get off drugs, if you're using really, powerful drugs like Percocets or anything like, or heroin or cocaine for that matter, to me, that wasn't the hard part. For me, the hard part was the emotional part of it. So, once again, you have to be ready to do it. And I realized that there was no functionality to what I was doing. I was just rationalizing why I was using this stuff, and there was no reason for it. It didn't serve a purpose anymore. So I stopped it. That's addiction. Then there's people who just like to go out on the weekends and drink alcohol or party. That's something different. If you don't do that every single day, then you're not really addicted to that. You might like that lifestyle, but it's not an addiction. So you have to separate the two. Obviously, if you want to be successful in bodybuilding, you can't be partying on the weekends. That's just it's not conducive. The bodybuilders that were successful who did that are anomalies. The Chris Cormiers, the Victors. I don't know how they did it. And they were the best at their game. Total anomalies. Most people would not make good progress doing that.
Let's go to Salix 1982. If fiber is a, quote, natural time release for insulin, would small doses of fiber with every meal help if you're insulin resistant?
Well, fiber isn't making insulin time resistant. Fiber can delay the absorption of carbohydrates and foods into the bloodstream for sure, which can obviously temper the insulin response. But other foods do that too. Think about it. If you combine fat with protein, fat delays the transport of food through the intestinal tract, which delays the absorbability of the food, which tempers, once again, the insulin response. The longer it takes a carbohydrate to get into the bloodstream, the less insulin you produce immediately. Now, I make that statement because I want to make a point here. If you were to eat just a simple sugar, just drink pure sugar, the sugar is going to go into the bloodstream instantly almost, and you're going to get a huge spike of insulin, which is then going to drop your blood sugar. You'll probably go low from that. If you take that same sugar, okay, and combine it with whey protein isolate and 2 tablespoons of macadamia nut oil, which is a fat source, that sugar will now probably take a couple, like maybe 2 hours to get into the bloodstream. So you're going to get a trickling effect, which means you're going to trickle insulin, which means you're less likely to produce too much insulin, and you're much less likely to go hypoglycemic. So obviously having less insulin production also means you're less likely to store calories as fat. That's why low glycemic carbs are better to eat in the off season, because they lessen the amount of insulin that goes in. So you don't necessarily need to use fiber to do that. So eating fiber at every single meal is probably not going to be good, because you're going to get too much fiber, and you're probably going to be, it's going to upset your stomach a little bit. So my advice is use Fiberlyze twice a day, like, before bed and then once during the middle of the day. And then just, use food combinations. Always use protein, fat, and carbs at every meal that you eat. The only time you want stuff getting in really fast is post-workout, when you can do, a whey isolate shake with, say, a Carbolyze or something like that, to get the carbs and the protein in super quick. You don't want any fats, because the fats will delay it. Every other time of the day, you really want to have your body kind of trickle the food in, as opposed to just slam it in 2 seconds,
Let's go to Howard 9. Dave, what would you say a safe bet for conditioning is for a show? For example, how far out should you basically zero lower ab fat and striated glutes? How close is too late? We all know conditioning when shows, even if you have everything else and the guy next to you is leaner, but shaped like a turtle.
Look, I love when guys are in shape 2 to 3 weeks out from a show, so I can start feeding them more, leading up to the show. It sucks when I have to worry, oh my God, is this person going to be perfectly in shape for the show, because we're coming down to the wire here. That's not fun, but we do it. I always time it so the person's kind of in shape just about a week out, and they're looking perfect, so I can kind of do my thing the week out without having to play tricks. That's the ultimate. And a lot of times people are doing more than one show anyway, so if they're doing more than one show, getting them in shape that week of the first show is perfect, because then they're going to have a show the week after or 2 weeks after, and I can play games. I could up food a little bit, I can give them an extra cheat meal, or do whatever I have to do to make sure they peak for that second show.
Let's go to Brad RGR. Dave, I got a question about aspirin. Since steroids thicken your blood, is it worthwhile to take aspirin on a daily basis? I've been taking aspirin 81 for the last little while. Is there any benefit to this?
Not really. I mean, I personally, use obviously my Omega-Lyze formula, which has a lot of fish oil in there. Fish oil has the same effect, that anticoagulant effect on the blood, that say an aspirin would, without any of the negative side effects of an aspirin. Because remember, aspirin could, eat away at your stomach lining. A lot of people get ulcers from too much aspirin on a regular basis, and it's a little too severe at reducing clotting. So I don't like the idea of having to take an aspirin every day. To me, eating an anti-inflammatory diet, okay, taking a good, fish oil and essential fatty acid supplement like Omega-Lyze, even using macadamia nut oil will help the blood thin itself as well. So that's the approach you're better off taking from. Try to eat natural supplements that reduce inflammation and reduce clotting, rather than have to take an aspirin on a regular basis. Now, having said that, when I had my quad originally operated on, anytime they do major surgery like that, they do put you on an aspirin. They put you on a regular aspirin for about a month or two after the surgery to prevent clots, literal clots from the actual surgery happening. Because when they get in there and they start doing all kinds of crazy drilling and sawing, sometimes pieces, clumps, break off and they get into the bloodstream. We don't want that causing a blockage, because you can get a pulmonary embolism from that. That's a different story. But on a regular basis, your fish oil supplementation at 3 grams per day is plenty.
Too Huge 64, Dave, love the show. What are the long-term side effects of TRT? Apart from lipids and prostate, is there any other health concerns, and should one do a PCT every now and then for TRT? What would it look like?
When I was on TRT, I really never did anything. I never took HCG. I never really did anything. I always felt good on it. So, it wasn't necessary. People who do TRT and then go on a regular cycle, those people I tell them to do PCT after the major cycle's over, and then go back on TRT. So in other words, you do you're on TRT, and then you say, okay, I'm going to up my dose. So I'm going to do 1,000 milligrams of test a week with 400 milligrams of equipoise a week. You do that for 12 weeks, and then after that, I put them on a PCT, HCG, Clomid, and then I put them back on the HRT again. But if you're doing, HRT continuously, there's no reason to have to do HCG.
Let's go to Big Ant and 26. Dave, why do people have their cheat meals prior to training? It takes much longer to assimilate and digest, and if you have to work late, have a family emergency, and can't train to your full potential, won't you waste it? Isn't it better to have a cheat meal after training for recovery?
Yeah, I mean, when I do my cheat meals, it would be after training, and if you're, like I said, on the last show we talked about timing a cheat meal before a important workout. So let's say you really want to maybe maximize your leg training. Do your cheat meal Saturday night, and then Sunday morning do your leg workout. You want all that food to actually have time to get into the muscle and load the glycogen in your liver and do all those good things. Having it immediately after, like if having it early in the morning is never going to it won't affect you till the following day anyway.
Pretty long one here from Stay in Fit for Life. Dave, just yesterday, a person in my gym took Clen 40 mcg for his fasted cardio. The protocol was from a current IFBB pro who was coaching him. After a bit during cardio, he felt strange and thought his chest was going to explode. He immediately stopped and laid down. We thought we were going to have to call the ambulance. Does Clen need to be taken out during fasted cardio starting at 40 mcg and not 20 is high, isn't it? Why do Clen while doing cardio? Isn't your heart rate going to be high enough during cardio?
Clen doesn't really raise heart rate at all, at least not directly. What clenbuterol does is it opens up the blood vessels, so it drops blood pressure a little bit. That's why I tell people repeatedly, and on this show repeatedly, hey, only take 20 micrograms per dose. So if you're going to take a dose before you go to the gym so you breathe better, whatever the case may be, only take 20 micrograms. If you take too much in one shot, it drops your blood pressure too much. And when you're trying to exercise and get blood to the muscles, the heart has to beat faster to try to facilitate that because the vessels are open. It's like having a hose that's double the size, double the diameter. You're going to have better pressure coming through that hose to sustain the same flow rate, right? So what's happening is the person's taking all these Clen, they're opening up their vessels too much, and then they go in the gym and having a huge blood demand. The heart has to beat crazy fast to keep up with that. So that's not a good idea. So don't take super high amounts in one shot. You should never do it anyway. 20 micrograms is fine. It's not going to cause any side effects.
Mike 355, is it possible for results to stop during a steroid cycle due to using the same compounds and dosages for a certain period of time?
It's possible. I mean, you can get used to anything, I guess. Testosterone is testosterone, so it doesn't matter what ester you use. But I like to mix up the anabolics every 6 to 8 weeks and change them up. So if you're doing 6 or 8 weeks of equipoise with test, then maybe switch to 6 to 8 weeks of trenbolone with test, and maybe switch to 6 to 8 weeks of DECA with test. And that's how I usually break it up, because to me the anabolics you can get used to. Testosterone is a hormone that's naturally in your body, so you're never going to stop responding to that.
Jay Guy, why do some drugs affect sex drive so badly?
Well, I never took a steroid that killed my sex drive. They only made my sex drive better. Okay, but I know that some people, when they take DECA, and a certain small population of people, when they take trenbolone, they do get a loss of sex drive, or they get a loss of the ability to have an erection, and that's due to raising prolactin. The 19 nortestosterone molecules that are derived from that are of DECA, DECA-durabolin, that is, just regular durabolin, which is the faster-acting DECA, trenbolone. These are all 19 nortestosterone derived. They seem to have the ability to raise prolactin, and it happens to be in a dose-dependent manner. So if you take a lot of DECA or a lot of trenbolone, you're going to raise prolactin a lot more. I think back in the 90s, guys didn't use as much trenbolone, they didn't use as much DECA. I mean, we would use 76 milligrams of parabolin, which was trenbolone and anthate, twice a week. That wasn't a lot, so people didn't you just got positive effects from it. You didn't get any negatives. Nowadays, guys do up to 1,000 milligrams of trenbolone a week. It's crazy. So I think you're seeing side effects that you never saw before because of the exorbitant amounts of dosages they're using. Same thing with DECA. Guys would use 400 milligrams of DECA a week. Now they're using 1,200 milligrams a week. I know guys that are out there advocating Deca-only cycles of over 1,000 milligrams a week. It's crazy. So you're going to get more side effects with that. So to me, it's not worth it. And the easiest way to confirm that that's what's happening is get your prolactin levels checked on a blood test. You'll know right away if they're too high.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, again brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit SpeciesNutrition.com. We wanted to give a shout out to one of our special retailers, Shredded RX in East Meadow, New York. If you're in Long Island, in Nassau County, Shredded RX are based right on Hempstead Turnpike, right off the Wantagh Parkway, if you're familiar with them. Dave, Shredded RX, a longtime partner of Species Nutrition.
Yeah, I know Adam, the store owner, for a long time. We both went to East Meadow High School together, and Adam collects snakes too. Matter of fact, I bought a bunch of ball pythons from him. I bought part of his collection. He was selling it when I first started getting into snakes. And Adam has always been into bodybuilding, and he's got a great store there in East Meadow. It's actually right down the block from where I went to high school, believe it or not. And it obviously wasn't there years ago. It's been there for the last couple of years, however, and it's a great store because Adam's always there, and he's always willing to give people free advice on what supplements are great to take, how they work, dosages, and he's a super, super supporter of the Species Nutrition line. I want to thank him personally for that, of course, and like I said, I consider him a really good friend of mine. And if you're in the area, and a lot of people don't know where to go, they shop online, but they want to go someplace where they can actually get advice. He sells clothing there. It's a really nice store. Like I said, right off the Wantagh Parkway on Hempstead Turnpike. If you go in there, just tell them Dave Palumbo sent you.
So again, if you want to be mentioned, if you carry Species Nutrition and you want to be mentioned, DM us official_RxMuscle or the Species Nutrition Instagram handle. Let's go to Chief Broham. Love the name. Best protocol for running Diazide during peak week leading up to a contest, and what kind of product should one have on hand when administering Diazide? Puts in parentheses Pedialyte, electrolytes, etc., etc.
I believe we just answered this question, didn't we, early in the show? Someone asked about how to use Diazide, so I'm not going to go over the question again, but one of the things the great thing about Diazide is if you take a little too much and you start cramping, the only thing that could possibly be wrong is that you're sodium deficient. And the easiest thing to do is just have a little thing of salt on hand. You fill up a teaspoon of salt, put it in your mouth, take a little sip of water, and usually that does the trick. Wait about 15-20 minutes. If you're still cramping, do it again. By the second dose, I guarantee you won't be cramping anymore.
Lee Axon, Dave, I've stopped taking my whey protein around 7 weeks ago. I still get all my whole food meals in without fail. I've noticed zero loss in size, stamina, or strength. Do you think it's necessary to supplement, I guess he means in particular with whey protein isolate, if you don't miss meals?
Yeah, whey protein is what I call a luxury supplement. You guys know I have the supplements you must and should take. Your V-Mineralize, Omega-Lize, Fiber-Lize, those type of products, extra vitamin D. And then I have the luxury items, which is everything else. And whey protein is a luxury item. It makes it a lot easier to get your protein, and it's actually a lot cheaper to use a whey isolate, than it is to actually eat a chicken breast. But if you can eat all food meals and you want to eat all food meals, do it. You don't need to take a whey protein. Once again, it's a convenience, and it's sometimes something that people like because it's a sweet tasting product without the sugar and carbs in it. So if you're on a diet, a lot of times people get bored of the same food over and over and over again, and they want something like that tastes really good, and that's why a lot of people like to combine our Isolize with all natural peanut butter and blend it up. Perfect ketogenic type of shake, and you can use that while you're dieting, and so that becomes very popular. But there are people out there that like food. If you like food, eat all food. No big deal.
Sami Al-Rawali, does flaxseed decrease natural testosterone?
I didn't hear what he said.
Flax seeds, do they decrease natural testosterone?
No. Flaxseed's not good. Flaxseed is a source of omega-3 fats, but it's actually not a good source for humans because we don't convert the parent compound, alpha-linolenic acid, into the usable DHA EPA form. So it's better to use an animal source of omega-3 fats like fish oil if you're looking to supplement. But flaxseed is not going to reduce testosterone output in the body. Absolutely not.
Chand Lodi, is it safer long-term to use, say, basic compounds like D-bol and test than all other exotics, Tren, Deca, etc. if you keep dosages the same, i.e. 500 mg test versus 250 mg test and 250 mg tren for a recreational lifter?
I don't necessarily know. If you're doing anything in moderation, it's probably pretty safe. I think when you get into the excessive dosages, that's when you're going to have some problems. Obviously you're going to grow better from combining testosterone with an anabolic agent. Two drugs together always produce more benefits and more muscle gains than just using one, even if you double the dosage. So 2 is better than 1, and that's just the way it is when it comes to anabolic steroids.
Hard Body Fitness BC. Dave, can you please explain how L-carnitine affects the use of T3? I've read that taking L-carnitine while using T3 will weaken or stop the effect of the T3.
Yeah, that's just not the case. L-carnitine is it's a supplement, but it's also a carrier in our bloodstream. If you look at a muscle cell, let's assume it's a square, even though muscle cells are long. Inside the muscle cells, we have these little circular organelles that are known as mitochondria. Inside these mitochondria, is where fat gets oxidized for fuel, doing long, sustained, aerobic type activities. In order to get these long-chain fats into these little mitochondria, you need L-carnitine to transport them across the membrane. So if you're deficient in L-carnitine, you're not going to be able to transport these long-chain fats at adequate rates to maximize fat burning. So supplementing with L-carnitine, if you're a little deficient, will certainly increase the rate of which you burn fat. However, if you're not deficient in it, you won't probably notice very much of anything. But that has nothing to do, L-carnitine, with the production of thyroid hormone in the thyroid gland or the conversion of inactive thyroid T4 to active thyroid T3. So I don't know where this rumor came from, but it's just not the case.
The Wolf Inside. I was wondering, after being off, well, okay, rather take a step back. I am building an off-season cycle protocol and was wondering, after being off cycle for 12 weeks, would it be okay to run a 24-week off-season cycle, then go straight into a 20-week prep cycle for a total of a 44-week cycle?
I think that would be fine as long as you go off for a nice 10 to 12 weeks after that 44-week cycle.
Let's go to Low Key Snow. Recommended creatine intake currently taking 6 grams, have seen little strength, but I would think that's due to my weight increase. Should I increase the creatine?
5 or 6 grams of creatine per day is usually adequate. I mean, some guys do 10 grams, but I think that if you just did 5 in your post-workout shake every day, you would certainly see a little boost in strength, certainly a volumization of the muscle cell and a little more endurance in the gym. Remember, once you get that first boost from creatine, taking more is not going to give you a better result, and you're really not going to continue to feel it, okay? A lot of people are always worried about, am I feeling my supplement? Creatine is not a stimulant, okay? It's just hydrating the muscle cell and giving you more endurance. If you feel that effect and that's working, then it's not going to get better than that, okay? That's going to be the way it's going to stay. Now, if you stop the creatine, you'll lose that water weight and you might lose some strength and endurance. Then you'll know that it was working.
Let's go to Nevin Cthulhu. Does it matter what type of oil gear is mixed with? I find that I lump up with grapeseed oil. I am now using MCT oil-based testosterone.
Yeah, I've never heard of MCT-based testosterone at all in my travels. I mean, I'm sure people have done it. Usually it's cottonseed or grapeseed oil that they make it with. It seems like the people who make it professionally for a living, like the companies, Upjohn out there that make Depo testosterone, if they're using grapeseed extract or cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil or cottonseed oil, I'd probably use what they're using because they probably know best what makes it work best and stabilizes the drug best. Doesn't seem like MCT is a very stable oil to me, but I don't know. I guess it's impossible to really have an answer for that.
Good one here from Amy Hauk. We've been having these Glory Day type interviews with Amina Lai, with King Kamali. She wants to know if it's possible to have the female equivalent of the, quote, Glory Days retrospective that you've had with King Kamali and Alai. Says it will be fascinating.
Yeah, I got to figure out who to have on. I guess Tanya Knight would probably be good. I've had her on before. She's a good interview. I told Laura Bass I was going to have her on too. Not Nicole Bass, Laura Bass. And she has some great stories because I actually was in Dubai with her in 1996 when I was there with Milos. I was there with her. Edgar Fletcher was there. and her boyfriend at the time, Dennis, Dennis almost got thrown in jail there because he punched out a Lebanese guy, a Lebanese bodybuilder who was also posing with us there, and I had to negotiate the peace. It's a pretty funny story. I'd like to hear her perspective on it because I've always told it from my perspective. She might have had a different perspective because she was kind of witnessing what was going on. But literally, they were going to throw this guy in jail. They'd take his visa and passport. I saved this guy's life, and it was really funny because it was really ridiculous. He had to get up, and I negotiated this whole deal where he had to get up in front of like the 5,000 people that were waiting for us to guest post and apologize, you know. And I told him, I said, Dennis, you better make this sincere, I said. So that might be a good story to tell. But yeah, there's a couple of probably people that have some cool stories. I don't know if Corey Everson has some great stories or if she's willing to even discuss some of the stories, but I'm sure she probably knows a lot more than I do during that heyday of the women's bodybuilding back in the early 80s.
Take one more from Frank Semino. Dave, can you explain the progression of your shoulders going bad as you got older? I'm 25 and my AC joints constantly pop loudly. No pain or limited range of movement. But what you went through definitely has me raising an eyebrow. Any advice?
Yeah, I mean, arthritis is a progressive type of disease. You know, it starts off, it's just a little achy and doesn't, you know, when you're working out, you're a little sore, but and it's not so bad. And then it gets progressively worse, and you start getting restrictions, and I wasn't able to externally rotate my shoulder back anymore. And, you know, it got to the point after 15 years that it was, you know, I was in pain all the time, you know, when I was sleeping and stuff like that. I still need my right shoulder done, and sitting here just like this with my shoulders a little elevated because the table's a little high, I'm feeling my right shoulder, you know, aching me a little bit. So it's, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight, but it's progressive, and at some point, you know, sometimes you got to do something about it. I knew I was going to need a shoulder replacement at some point. I probably shouldn't have waited as long as I did because I really didn't need to suffer that long, but, you know, sometimes, you know, you have to be ready to do it, and I had a point where I said, you know what, I'm ready. And I'm really ready to do the other one now too, but, you know, obviously we have a newborn baby, so I have to kind of wait till the baby's kind of like sleeping a little better, and because I'm going to be incapacitated pretty much for, you know, at least 6 to 8 weeks after that surgery, and I won't be able to be lifting anything. So, you know, once again, you have to work it around your schedule. There's no reason to do it right now, but you might want to try some alternative therapies like stem cell injections, some Synvisc in there to lubricate the area. You know, make sure you take a supplement like Arthrolyte that has super high amounts of glucosamine and MSM in them, at least 4 grams of each per day. That's going to help slow the progression. I believe that I slowed the progression of mine quite a bit with the right supplementation, the right modalities, and the right therapies that I went for. But ultimately, you know, father time always wins, as they say.
Let's step aside for the supplement review of the week, brought to you by Black Crane Supplements.
Dave Palumbo here with the Black Crane Supplement tip of the week. And guys, Black Crane Supplements has come out with 2 great new formulas. One specifically, which I really love, is called Halcyon Shred. And as you guys know, I'm not a big fan of stimulants, so this product is a stimulant-free fat burner that not only just burns fat, you know, it actually also reduces estrogen in the body, it reduces fluid retention, it helps with mental clarity. And I like supplements that are more holistic like that, in the sense that you're not going to just put this shotgun of caffeine in there at super high levels combined with other stimulants, because we all know that wears down the adrenal glands, it overtaxes them, it stresses out the body, it raises cortisol levels, it can actually increase heart rate and blood pressure. We don't want that. We're trying to burn fat and be healthy here. This new product from Black Crane Supplements does a great job of that. You know, green tea extract is probably one of the most underestimated, you know, natural fat burners on the market. I use it in my products. This is a tremendous ingredient that he has in here, combined with L-carnitine and combined with anti-estrogen supplements, specifically diindolylmethane, which the way it works, they kind of isolate this from the cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower or broccoli. And what it does is it binds up extra estrogen and it flushes it out of the body. So I love that. Magnolia bark also is a great adaptogen as well, that, once again, it enables you to burn fat, but it also keeps you calm and helps give you focus in the gym. And that's what we want after all. We're not looking to over-rev the engine. We're looking for creative ways to trick the body into burning fat while keeping the body healthy. And I think Halcyon Shred does a terrific job of that. Guys, if you want to check it out, Black Crane Supplements sells this great new product. Check it out at blackcranesupplements.com.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Again, visit speciesnutrition.com. For Dave Palumbo and our producer, Tyler Shore, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.